অনারেবল অডিয়েন্স, আমরা আশা করছি যে আর 5 মিনিট পরেই আমরা আমাদের প্রোগ্রামটি শুরু করে দিতে পারবো। আপনারা কাইন্ডলি একটু ধৈর্য ধরে আমাদের সাথে থাকুন।
नाम क्या बात है।
অনারেবল অডিয়েন্স, আমার কথা শোনা যায়? কাইন্ডলি আমাকে যদি একটু চ্যাট বক্সে কেউ জানাতেন।
জি, শোনা যায়।
থ্যাংক ইউ। আসসালামু আলাইকুম, আমি অনামিকা পাল, আইট্রিপল ইউনিভার্সিটি অফ রাজশাহী স্টুডেন্ট ব্রাঞ্চে ভাইস চেয়ারপারসন হিসাবে আছি। পড়াশোনা করছি রাজশাহী বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ইনফরমেশন অ্যান্ড কমিউনিকেশন ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং ডিপার্টমেন্টে। আজকে আইট্রিপল ইউনিভার্সিটি অফ রাজশাহী স্টুডেন্ট ব্রাঞ্চ এবং আমেরিকান কর্নার রাজশাহী এর যৌথ উদ্যোগে এই ওয়েবিনার আয়োজন করা হয়েছে। আপনাদের সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি আমাদের আজকের এই ওয়েবিনারে, যার টাইটেল নেম হচ্ছে ক্রাফটিং গ্রাজুয়েট এসওপি। আনন্দের ব্যাপার যে আজকে আমাদের সাথে অনারেবল স্পিকার হিসাবে আছেন মিস্টার সোহেল ইকবাল স্যার। আমাদের এই ওয়েবিনারে অংশগ্রহণের জন্য 52টি ইউনিভার্সিটি থেকে প্রায় 250 জন রেজিস্ট্রেশন করে অংশগ্রহণের ইচ্ছা প্রকাশ করেছেন, কিন্তু সিট লিমিটেড হওয়ার কারণে এবং অনেকের অনুরোধ রক্ষার্থে আইট্রিপলি ইউনিভার্সিটি অফ রাজশাহী স্টুডেন্ট ব্রাঞ্চের অফিসিয়াল ফেসবুক পেজ থেকে আমাদের এই প্রোগ্রামটি লাইভ টেলিকাস্ট করা হবে, যাতে আরো অনেকে সংযুক্ত হতে পারেন, উপকৃত হতে পারেন। অনারেবল পার্টিসিপেন্ট, একটু পরে চ্যাট বক্সে একটা লিংক দেওয়া হবে, ফিডব্যাক ফর্ম লিংক। আপনাদের সবাইকে অনুরোধ করছি সেটা ফিল আপ করার জন্য। আর মূল পর্বে যাওয়ার আগে আপনাদের সবাইকে অনুরোধ করছি কাইন্ডলি মাইক্রোফোনটা একটু মিউট রাখবেন। আর যদি কোনো কোশ্চেন থাকে ইভেন্ট চলাকালে তাহলে চ্যাট বক্সে করতে পারেন। আমাদের সাথে যারা ফেসবুক লাইভে সংযুক্ত আছেন তারাও যদি কোনো কোশ্চেন থাকে তাহলে কমেন্ট সেকশনে করতে পারেন। আমাদের সঙ্গে আছেন আতিয়া সানজিদা আপু। আপু আপনাদের কোশ্চেন গুলো অবশ্যই চেষ্টা করবেন স্যারের কাছে পৌঁছে দেওয়ার জন্য। আপুকে অনুরোধ করছি প্রোগ্রামটি সামনের দিকে এগিয়ে নিয়ে যাওয়ার জন্য। আতিয়া সানজিদা আপু।
থ্যাংক ইউ অনামিকা পল। আমি আতিয়া সঞ্জিতা, আমি আছি আমেরিকান কর্নার রাজশাহীতে কোঅর্ডিনেটর হিসেবে। আমরা আমেরিকান কর্নার রাজশাহী হচ্ছে আমেরিকা স্পেসের একটা অংশ। আমাদের 660টা শাখা আছে, সেটা হচ্ছে হোল ওয়ার্ল্ডে, এবং এটা হচ্ছে আমেরিকান কর্নার রাজশাহীটা রাজশাহীতে, এবং বাংলাদেশে আমাদের 6টা শাখা আছে। এবং আমাদের সাথে কাজ করছে এডুকেশন ইউএসএ। কোন জায়গাতে আমরা যারা হাই স্টাডি করতে চাই সেই জায়গার যে ইনফরমেশন গুলো আছে সেগুলো হচ্ছে আমরা এডুকেশন ইউএসএ কাছ থেকে পেতে পারি। এবং এডুকেশন ইউএসএ, এবং আমরা অনেক লাকি যে এডুকেশন ইউএসএ যিনি ডিরেক্টর আছেন আমাদের বাংলাদেশের, উনি আজকে আমাদের অনারেবল স্পিকার। সো এসওপি রাইটিং এর উপরে আমরা আজকে যে সেশনটা করব, স্যার খুব ভালোভাবে নেবেন, এবং তারপর ডিউরিং সেশন অনেকের অনেক কোশ্চেন আসে, তো সেই কোশ্চেন গুলো আমরা সেশনটা ইন্টারাপ্ট না করে চ্যাট বক্সে লিখি। আর সেশন শেষে তখন হয়তোবা আপনারা হ্যান্ড রেজ করলে, হ্যান্ড রেজ নামে একটা অপশন আছে দেখবেন, সেই ক্ষেত্রে আমরা যাদেরকে অপরচুনিটি দিব তারা সরাসরি আনমিউট করে কোশ্চেন গুলো করতে পারবেন। সো আমরা সেশনটা শুরু করতে যাচ্ছি এবং আপনারা সবাই আমাদেরকে একটু কোঅপারেট করেন। থ্যাংক ইউ সবাইকে। এবং মিস্টার সোহেল বিকাশ স্যার, আপনাকে ওয়েলকাম আজকের সেশনে। স্যার আপনি শুরু করতে পারেন। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you. Thank you, Atia. Thank you, Anamika. And also, I can see Mr. Sabir, Chair of IEEE Rajshahi branch. So, welcome to today's presentation. I'm so glad to see all of you joined on time. So it's very important because time is one of the most important factor for your application process as well to the US universities. So please keep the time frame in mind. When is the application cycle? When do you need to put the application in? And also, you write your statement of purpose. That is, again, needs a lot of plan. I'll come to that because your one-page statement of purpose can take up to 3 months to write. It is also again a plan. You have to write the first draft, check it, and then make the final copy of your statement of purpose. So without further ado, let me share my presentation, and I'll start my presentation for today. presentation slide. Atya, can you let me know if you can see my slide?
Continue. Yeah, we can see properly.
Great. So today's topic is graduate studies, crafting your personal statement and SOP. There's a little bit of difference, right? I'll come to that. So as an introduction, many of you have come across education as advising before, but some of you are maybe new. So let me give a quick overview on Education USA. Education USA is a Department of State network throughout the world. We have more than 430 centers in around the world in 170 countries and territories. So Education USA Advising Centers globally tries to help students with the correct information, and all this advising and everything is free. The reason why we do this is to give the direct information to students so that there is no confusion. You get the accurate, comprehensive, and current information. In Bangladesh, Education USA Advising Center is operated from the embassy, US Embassy in Dhaka, but we have 3 other centers which are not within the embassy. There is one which is called the EMK Center in Dhanmondi, Dhaka. There is one in Chittagong, and there is one center in Khulna. So that is Education USA Bangladesh. I'm very glad that today's topic is very important, especially at the graduate study level. I've talked to many of you. I think that was last month for an overview presentation of Education USA higher study opportunities. So the statement of purpose or personal statement is perhaps the single most important element in your application, because a lot of students want financial aid as well. So not just for your admission, but for your financial aid as well. Statement of purpose is very, very important. Just to give you an example, there are 70 students here. So everyone is, I know, very, very highly motivated, right? Wonderful in your GRE. But in the end, similar candidates, a pool of similar candidates, when there is in front of the admission officer, or break your admission decision and a scholarship decision or financial aid decision. So that is why statement of purpose is very, very important. Education USA always tries to tell you that you have to show your uniqueness, why you are important, what are you taking as an international student to that US campus. You have to show some uniqueness, and uniqueness is not just you have to be different from others, you have to show something to the admission committee that you are a deserving candidate, you will be successful, you have the potential to become a successful student. So that is why the statement of purpose is very, very important. So going forward, I told you that Education USA Advising is operated throughout the world. Education USA has as a model which we call 5 steps model. The first step is research, or looking for options. Where do you want to go? What subjects do you want to study? What is your career goal? And what kind of university or program you should be looking at? That is the search and research process to find the best possible university or program for you. The most I request everyone to put yourself, please mute yourself, and also it's a good idea to not share your view as well. So the 5 steps model which I was talking about, the second step is finance. So you have to have a financial plan as well. are you going to seek a lot of financial aid or like, just a partial? It's not same for each, right? So are you going for a master's or a PhD? The financial plan is also a very, very important part of engineering. Which falls under today's discussion is completing your application. The application has 8 steps or eight components rather. So the components are your application form, filling out it properly, submitting all your tests and transcripts. Third is your English proficiency test results like GRE, sorry, TOEFL or IELTS or things like that. Fourth is your GRE or GMAT score. So all of you are engineering students, so that's why the test will be GRE. Fifth is your statement of purpose. That's very, very important. Number 6 is your recommendation letters from your supervisor or your teachers. So that is number 6. Number 7 is number 7 we call like having a properly well and relevant CV or like your resume, right? So university will ask you for those kind of things. They will clearly mention what they need. So that is number 7. And number 8 is your financial record, like get full scholarship. So university will also ask for some financial records and documents from you, like is it from your own source, your parents, or you're like someone else?
Hello, Sohail bhai, we can't hear you. I think there are a lot of internet interruption.
স্যার আপনার মাইকটা আনমিউট হয়ে গেছে। আপনি যদি কাইন্ডলি আনমিউট করে নিতেন আবার।
Let me try. So let me share it again. Sorry. Prayer calls. So let me take 1 minute pause here.
Okay, sir, no problem.
Okay. Okay, let's start again. So today we are discussing about the step number 3, which is completing your application. So I told you that there are 8 components of an application, and the statement of purpose is one. So like that is your step number 3, right? So within the application, you have to complete all the 8 component, right? And then the 4th step is visa, right? So when you apply and then you get accepted, you get an I-20 letter, right? When you get an I-20 letter, you should contact the embassy consular office to seek a student visa. So that is step number 4. So Education USA helps or provides information on each step. Number 1, which university you should go, as I said, what is the kind of program you should pursue, what is best for you. Each student is different. And this is not a topic for today, but each student is different. So that is why for each student, the university choice will be different. But at the same time, the statement of purpose will have that information as well. And the 5th step is your preparation for departure, and Education USA also helps you on that. So this discussion by introducing different types of application essays that you may have to prepare for application. You don't have to submit all of them, but many US universities may have couple of them. University, can I request everyone to put yourself in silence, please? So each university may ask for a couple of different essays, right? So the most common is the statement of purpose, but a lot of universities may ask for a separate statement, which is called the personal statement. I'll come to that. The statement of purpose showcases your academic strengths, and your fit with the program you're applying, right? Fit. Are you fit for that program? So that is what the context of statement of purpose. When it comes to the personal statement, the highlight is your personal motivation for applying to that program, or your major personal accomplishments from your past work or academic experience. Those are the kind of things for personal statement. And maybe you had some challenges in your life. You can also list those, how you have overcome those challenges, right? So that is a context of personal statement. I'll discuss these 2 in more details in next slides. Let me also address here that there can be supplementary essays. Like, for example, a university may ask 1 or more of this type of supplementary essays. For example, Wheelock College of Education in Boston University requires a diversity essay. So they want the diversity essay from PhD candidates. That means that they want to know about your perspective about the diversity issue. You know that diversity is a topic. How do you get along with other students, different cultures and different backgrounds, everything. So they might ask for a diversity essay or a supplementary essay like that. University of California, Irvine gives an opportunity to write an essay on students, anything students face difficulties on. For example, you had a grade C in one of the courses. You are doing good, but one of the crucial course in your undergraduate, you had a C, right? So that's where you can write something like, why did you have that challenge? Or what was the context of that particular incident of your life? So, there can be different supplementary essays as well. Not get confused by if university asks for additional essays. There can be a specific essays, for example, on engineering, like a topic, or when you write something for a research interest, there can be additional essays, it's just a statement or a letter or email. but the statement has to have a formal language. So that is the difference. Uh, and essay can be asked on specific topic or programs or projects you have done, things like that. But the most common is obviously the statement of purpose, which we are going to cover in today's presentation. Many schools may specifically require a letter of intent. An intent, meaning of intent is your intention, right? So letter of intent is something which is more like a statement of purpose, but the format is like a letter. So you should address someone, dear sir, or dear dean of engineering school or something like that. And then you write the same thing which you would write in a statement of purpose. And then in the end, thank you sincerely, like in your name. So that is called a letter of intent. Going forward, what is statement or essay actually is? It is not a resume in prose. It is not your autobiography. It is not a letter. It is not a plan. But it is something like an essay which has introduction, a body, and a conclusion. It can be in 3 paragraphs or in 5, 6 paragraphs, but it has to have a proper introduction, a conclusion, and in between a body. But remember that you should not write about something like your autobiography or your resume, or like a letter, addressing someone, or like a plan, what do you want to do in future. I'll come in next slide what exactly it is. So a statement on personal, statement of purpose and personal aspect, there are, these are the definitions, right? So definitions is the academic and professional background in the statement of purpose. It should have the academic and professional background, the skills, the accomplishments, the research interest, academic career goals, and why this program is good for you. These are the kind of things you should list in SOP. It means that what you want to do, what you want to do. That is what the statement of purpose is, right? On the other hand, the personal statement is a motivation for applying, how you developed your research interest and any relevant experience and challenge and accomplishment, meaning that who you are. So, here's a web address. The definition I've taken from this website. So you can go there and this too. So focus when the university asks you for something. What are they asking? They may ask for a personal statement, but in the end, they might give you some clues. I'll come to that in next slide. That might have some of the topics from a statement of purpose as well. So the university can say, please submit personal statement of 750 to 1,000 words, and then they can give you some clues. So what is your personal motivation like this? And then your experience and challenges. But at the same time, they can also list what is your professional background or something like this. So do not go for just the title. Go for, look at closely. Look at this closely. That what the university is actually asking from you, right? So the school's perspective on SOP and personal statement. Let's discuss this. What is the school's perspective? The schools means the university or the program, right? School of Engineering, School of Business. So that is why we are calling school. Which one will you have to actually write for your graduate school applications? Some graduate applications clearly distinguish between these two. Clearly distinguish. Some of them require 2 separate statements. Distinguish, but some may not ask for both. Some may ask for just one. They will distinguish this, but just ask for one of them. Some may require 2 separate. to use the terms interchange. So the takeaway from today's discussion is that in spite of all these big differences, both statements essentially serve the same overarching purpose. The purpose is to make the admission committee think you are a good fit. You are a good fit. You are a good fit for that particular university or program. So that is what you should highlight. Like, and go back to slide number 1. You have to do a good research about the university to understand that. Are you a good fit for that? Are you a good fit for that? Financially as well. So it's not just that you have to write your own story. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, we have to match between the university's requirement and your. Remember, each student is different, each university is different. So if there is a match between you and the university, that's when it's called a best fit. Let me give you a quick example. Like for two students, Anamika and Atia. So Atia and Anamika are good friends, right? Like, just an example. So if I, ask them to work together in a project, they will be probably well, they will probably do well. But if Anamika gets a chance to work with Sabir, maybe they are better friends or they work together better. And that is when there is a best fit, right? They will work together in a better way to do better. So this is just an example. So if your university and you have a better match, then there is a more chance that you will have complete your program, either it's a master's or a PhD program, and you will not struggle during your course of study, and there is a more chance that you will become a successful student. So that is why university wants to make sure that they are actually taking the best fit students for their program. Does it make sense to you? Please use the chat box. So one of the major important thing is to show through your statement of is that best fit. Showing through your statement of purpose is very important. So remember, just this is an example, and you have to remember that examples are good, the templates and samples are good, but you should not copy this. It should be unique. I told you that if you take something from today's discussion, the most important thing is that you have to show your uniqueness, your potential as an individual for that particular university or program. So this is an example from the credit goes to George Washington University. The student was accepted, and that is a part of his or her statement of purpose. So the student wrote, in future, I plan, see, there's a plan. I plan to be an electrical engineer. And also note that there is a typo. There is a typo, mistake. I'll come to that. But I just crossed it because I wanted to give you a good example. So I just crossed it myself. But the student wrote, I plan to be an electrical engineering who promotes the progress of society through technological development. I'm confident that my master's degree from George Washington University will help me to, so this is like, an objective. How does this, and the student has a goal, achieve this goal. So the student clearly demonstrated that the student, by attending this program or degree, will achieve some goal. I'm particularly interested in and excited about events such as George Washington ECE Distinguished Lecture Series, that help expand student interest and understanding beyond the classroom. So it shows that student has gone to the George Washington University's website and found out something like this. I am a part of a committee to help organize similar events at my current university. For example, you are studying in Russia University now, right? So you are currently doing something like similar. You can write that. I'm already a part of something like this in my career. And I believe these opportunities have contributed a lot in my professional development. So that means that student has some professional experience as well, which he or she may have mentioned in the other part of the statement of purpose, and also that of my peers. That means that he or she is willing to help his classmates and peers. So, remember, the best fit is when you are not just going to a class to get something, get knowledge and earn degrees. You can also give something to the society or contribute to the classroom in terms of discussions, in terms of working together with peers and colleagues and students, other students. So that is important, right? Going forward, here is an example of not a great example here. It's this is again copied from a statement which unfortunately the student, neither of these students were selected for the program, accepted. So the student wrote, I am dash dash, business graduate from certain university in Bangladesh, for example. I received reward, but the student didn't write what reward from my work to complete my studies abroad. Didn't say even studies in the US or studied in this university. Didn't mention that. I must select a program which will benefit me. Okay, good, must select, but didn't give a justification and benefit me and my government. So it does not say why and how. I believe the program, at George Washington University will meet this requirement. So it's like a personal belief, but didn't again say how. Ideal location for me. The student could have said, yeah, George Washington University is ideal for me because it's located in here, and I'll have opportunity to do this or that, or get internships, or get networking for my future career. Nothing related to that. I am eagerly waiting your positive decision. And there is one example which is not at all a good example. I have dreamed my whole life to attend the university. Yeah, your dream is good, but what have you done to achieve that dream? That has to be there. So I hope you now all of the participants now get a sense what exactly a statement of purpose is. Remember that you have to look at the clue. Always do not count twice entirely, because each university is different. They will give you a prompt. They will give you some questions. They will give you some tools which they are looking for. Each program, each different separate perspective is more or less the same, right? So your case and your friend's case or statement will be different. And do not, this is one thing you have to be like your um, uh, primary school level, where you will share your notes like that. You can share, you can show it to others, that's fine, but do not copy. Do not copy it entirely. So some of the contextual features you have learned about the major things in broad terms. So now let's look at in more details, in depth. Why would you like to study in this particular university or in this particular subject or program? That has to be in the statement of purpose. Why are you interested in this particular field? That is also important. What is your academic background? What experience you have? And what is your career plan in the future? How do you link all this? Like in your past, your present, and your future. How are you linking all this through your education? So you probably studied electrical engineering in Russia University, for example, and now you want to do computer science. So why? What experience do you have in between that motivated you to, like, shift or switch to a different, although those are extremely connected. You like, I do not, I think like 70 or 80 students here, some of you might want to switch to business or in social science or in other fields like, for example, education, right? So it's not a problem. It's completely fine. You have to justify why, how. You can say that after my bachelor degree, I worked in a university or college in Bangladesh. I taught there for 2 years, and I developed some interest. And now I want to do a master's in education because I think that will help me grow in my career. That's completely fine. But you can also say that I completed my bachelor degree in computer science and I want to pursue the same field because computer science is something which excites me. I want to learn more things. In master's level, you have to focus subject to the subject or specific field. Why? What do you want to do? How this 2 years in a master's degree or like, whatever the length is. And for example, 5 years for PhD program, how this will help you to your career. What is your commitment and motivation? Important factor. Commitment. Are you committed? Are you highly motivated? The language has to have something like, you don't have to like write a whole paragraph of your commitment and say that, oh my God, I so wanted to, like, from my childhood, I watched so many Hollywood movies and like, I've seen so much about New York City or San Francisco or Texas that I'm so motivated to go there. That is something like, for probably for undergraduate level. Your commitment and motivation will be like, career, research. What is your motivation? That is what is important. What may or institute, right? And applying, and they also want financial aid. So how are you unique? Just because you have a 4 out of 4 or 3.5 or 3 or 2.5, whatever, or like when you have a good GRE and you have a motivation, that is not enough. How are you? Do you have a proper job experience, research experience? Like, have you demonstrated something which is unique among other applicants? And why should an admission committee select you as a person, not your friend, not others? How can you contribute to the program? How can you bring in knowledge, you bring in diversity, you bring in information, you bring in bringing in more ideas or knowledge in the classroom. So that's important. The contextual features of, so last slide was on a statement of purpose. Let us also see what is the features of personal statement. Have you ever had to overcome an unusual obstacles or hardships in your life? For example, like there's a big disaster, earthquake, cyclone, and that because of that, or like the COVID-19 pandemic this year. How? Probably like some of you were in last semester. So how did it affect you? How you overcome this? Like everyone is having problem, but was there something unusual, and can you demonstrate that yeah, your problem was unique and you took extra measures? Like for example, you are attending today's session, so you are you should clap yourself to spend this 1.5 hour to try to find out more information. So yeah, you can say that I have during this pandemic, I use my time in a productive way like this or something like that. So are there any inconsistencies in your academic record? As I said, if you have a C or D or a bad grade, what was the reason? Right? How did you manage to overcome? And what was give a justification? Are there any meaningful influence in your life? For example, your professor in Russia University has a big influence. Anyway, these are important factors. Like I'm switching to game designing, for example. So I'm going to game designing, having a or going to virtual reality world because I someone motivated me. I read a book, or I talked to a professor. I watched something that has motivated. You can write this kind of things in personal statement. I'm not saying you should write it, but you can. What skills, talents, and personal characteristics do you possess, which might improve your chances in this field? If you do not have, focus on what you have. Remember one thing you should remember. You should not try to match with the university, rather than you should try to find a program which will uh, match with you. So you should try to find a program or university which will match with you. And then that's how you should write. You should not find a university first and then try to meet their requirement or match with their requirement. That you cannot really do that, because there are more than 4,000 university colleges, and for graduate level, 1,000 masters and PhD programs level, more than 1,000 universities. So you should be able to find a good university which requirement and experience. So going forward, the common notion. So let us focus on statement of purpose, because in more than 90% cases, statement of purpose is yes, Rajiv, I know that you are also conversant with drawing and things. So please remove this yourself, Rajiv. Um, Thank you. I know that you can be also a good presenter. So common notions about statement of purpose, that is the most school will ask for statement of purpose, not personal statement or letter of intent. Just a quick break, maybe. Yeah, there is another prayer call. But let me check the chat box as well in the meantime. Okay, so let us get back to this. So the common notions about statement of purpose, as I say, varies from school to school. So after all this discussion, whatever I'm telling you and you're noting down, remember that it will vary from school to school. Not a lot, but at least 10%. So you should look at the clue. Questions. They will give you prompt. Like in a statement of purpose, write this. Like 4 or 5 questions. Some less and moderately competitive schools. So remember, competitiveness. Competitiveness. That is important. Some schools are highly competitive. For example, Russia University, highly competitive, right? Not everybody can get in Russia University. I'm not like comparing one institution with the other, but an institution like Dhaka University, Russian University, Chittagong University, those are highly competitive schools. So some less and moderately competitive schools in the US want to establish that students can write in a competitive manner. Less moderate, less or moderate competitive. Moderate means some schools, their acceptance rate is around 50%, 40-50%, more than that, like not less competitive. But there are schools whose acceptance rate is as low as 15%. So those are highly competitive, highly selective. So that is again in the next point. Highly selective. For them, the statement of purpose is a distinguished factor, as I told you. So they receive a pool of applications, like 1,000. So the statement of purpose is a deciding factor or distinguishing factor, which lifts the student out of the sea or ocean of similarly qualified students. But for less and moderately competitive schools, they want to just understand, or they want to make sure that yes, the student can write in a competitive manner, or is a competent manner. Their writing is good. So if you select highly selective school, the statement of purpose will serve a different purpose than if you are applying to less or moderate competitive schools. Remember, if you have 2.5 CGPA in your undergrad or 3, don't worry. There is a school for you. There is a program for you. And those are all accredited US universities. Don't think that those are less prestigious or reputed or anything like that. But there are universities who are highly competitive because students from all over the world apply to those schools because of reputation, obviously. But some schools have better fame and recognition and things like that. But do not go for ranking. Make a list of universities, including some highly selective schools, some less competitive schools as well. So, if you have a list of 10 universities where you are applying, have some universities who are less and moderately competitive, right? And then there can be some schools or programs which are highly selective. Even if you are a very good student, you have a great GRE or statement of purpose and recommendation letter, you should still consider to apply some moderately competitive schools, because those are the schools which will give you probably better scholarships, or and it's not about just the name and the ranking, where you can complete your program successfully on time with the support from the school, with the help from the university professors. That is important. So coming to the statement of purpose, schools usually have concerns about too polished SOP. Too polished. If the SOP is very, very polished, you can go to your friend in the English department and ask that, okay, I have to write 2 pages of statement of purpose, and you write it for me. And like student, always wanted to help you as a friend, and he or she got a chance and wrote a flowery language and something really too polished. Or you go to your professor, and a professor happens to be your uncle, father's close friend, and you request him, and he writes something really professional writing for you, but you have an IELTS score of just 6.5, right? So what is the situation? Your IELTS score doesn't tell that you are you can write something like this, but your statement of purpose is so try to be honest, try to write it yourself. Flawless essay with low grades, again, your CGPA is not great, but your essay is like written by a professor or a postdoctoral fellow. So that is again a cause of concern. Uh, so we are coming to the last bit of our presentation. I'm sorry for some interruptions, but this is the time of prayer calls, and those are really interruptions. So in terms of presentation. So I'm sorry for that, but I hope that this 1 hour or last 50 minutes was useful for you. I'll address some question in the end. I'll leave my email address, and you can always contact our American Corner coordinator Atia for more information, and we can set up future sessions, anytime you need any information, I'm ready to help any of you. So just to close this discussion presentation today, read all application form. As I told you, the prompt, the questions, read all and go to the website once again before you finalize. Research additional material on the topic. Search internet, read other essays, read books. You know, this is kind of a book which can help you. I'm sure if you go to the American Corner, Rajshahi, they can, there are books. At the moment, obviously, all the centers are closed for public and for different reasons, but when you get a chance, visit American Corner, Rajshahi, there are books like this. So university application portals, uh, have 3 to 5 leads or hints that you should focus on. There is a question in the chat box about the length. Thank you for the question. The word limit is usually 750 to 1,000 words. Some university may give you a page limit, not the words, but page limit. Also they can tell you that, okay, 2 pages, 3 pages, font size Arial, 12, single space. Okay, sounds good. So it depends on the university again. But usually it should be around 1,000 word. Use full and correct name of the program. Don't just say CS, Computer Science and Engineering, CSE, in that university and that department. At least in the beginning, I want to apply to this university in this program, write it full and correct name. Just don't say, I want to apply to CS in TX, it means, for example, Texas. Don't just write, be formal. Write a separate statement for each university. And when you copy paste, if you happen to send a statement which was written for one university and submit it to another university, that's a big mistake, right? Write a separate statement. Tell each university know that you want to come to that university. They will feel good about it. Yeah, this university student is interested in us. Let us consider his or her application. Read questions carefully, what they want. You should not write the same thing to all the universities, because you have to also know which university or program is requesting what information. Allow yourself enough preparations time. As I said, it can be 3 months. 3 months, you don't have to write for 3 months, but you can write and then review after a week or two. Give it to your professor to just have a look. Do not have him write, but can give you a professor or teacher or your friend to review. Then go to the university websites where you are applying. Look if they are giving any more clues, like we want this kind of students, we want this, like we have funding in these areas, or things like that. Write an original essay based on the personal experience of you and your observations. Write about something important to you. To you. Don't just write something which was written by others. The most common factor is that most of the essays look similar, because you don't try to write yourself an unique essay. That is the biggest flaw. You get a sample, you go to the web, Google, and download some, or ask your boro bhai or someone, and then you just copy from others. Write an original essay which is relevant to you. Some do's and don'ts. That is the last part. Keep your essay focused. Mention relevant achievements. Some students asked in the question box that, I hope I'm not ruining the question answer session. But as I just saw it, just giving an example. Mention relevant achievements. If you have done a Coursera course and you have something to talk about it, just if that is relevant for the program. If you have done something on, for example, what can I say? Which is not relevant to your subject. So if you're an engineering student, if you have done something on relevant field, please mention that. But if you have done something which is not relevant, but maybe your interest, try to mention that, present that in a way which is not does not sound unnatural or unwanted. Mention if that is relevant to the program, to your career, future career plan, your personal experience from your last education. So relevant experience. Be concrete, specific, interesting, and persuasive. Don't sound boring. Don't I can say I learned a lot. We always attending, but it's this. Be clear. My grades were great. I was a good student. My grades were good. My teacher used to tell me that, yeah, you are a good student. Those are the kind of things you should avoid. Rather, right, I was in a top 5% of my class. Top, one of the 5%. Mention your work, volunteer, extracurricular activities, which is again relevant. If you have done something, mention that if you get a chance. But if you are going for an engineering degree, mention something about a math project, or or engineering research work, or helping your teacher in teaching or in class, teaching assistants, things like that. If you're applying for a tier position, yeah, as I told you, teaching, teaching experience. Don't start your essay by "I was born in," "my name is," because those are already mentioned in your CV and in your application. Don't start with too many "I did this," "I want this." Don't simply state ideas. Support them by evidence. I was a senior high school, in my senior high school, that means senior high school or college in Bangladesh, I was one of the 10 chosen from the field of 300 participants to participate in a regional Olympiad, something like that. Rather than saying, I'm good in physics, I'm good in physics or math or quantitative skills. Don't try to mention everything you have or you have interest in your life. Focus. And don't try to second guess or flatter the admission stuff. Don't say, second guess means, Bangladesh, you may guess that they don't understand where Bangladesh is. So you can start by saying, oh, Bangladesh is such a poor country, and we had so much of natural disaster, but I, from my village, struggled a lot and come to this position by, don't do this. They know where Bangladesh is, or because a lot of students from Bangladesh every year go to US and about Bangladesh. Or flatter the admission office by saying that, yeah, I want to come to your campus. I want to bring something interesting from my country, or want to make friends with you, or don't give this kind of flattery things to the admission office. Be concrete, be focused. Don't try to impress the reader by your vocabulary, your finding the hard or unusual words and unnecessary words, or don't ever use slang or informal language. Be simple. Do not write in a complicated manner. Don't explain things that would be already known. Don't say that I got a GRE score of 320 because they already have your GRE. So, because of my parents, always or some students do that. I'm just alerting you so that you can focus. So this is the last slide. The essential crafting is, first, few sentences are very important. Have a good start. Remember the formula: one paragraph, one idea. From one paragraph to another paragraph, when you transition, there has to be a link. As I said, if you mention something about doing a course in Coursera, next paragraph should have something similar, or a transition. So I did this in pandemic time. In next paragraph, I want to do in the future something so there has to be transition. If you write something and the next paragraph is something else, and too much of information can confuse the admission committee. Convey overall positive image. Again, as I said, some students try to convince by saying that, oh, in Bangladesh there is so much of traffic and things like that, and things are so difficult. No, that's not good. Be concise. Use active voice. I did this. Active voice. Or things happened to me. No, I took this action and that is why this happened. So active voice. Compose several drafts. As I said, come back and write the final version. Revise your essay several times. Proofread by others. Read your essay loud in front of the mirror. Read it loud. How does it sound to you? The last tip is finish the essay, forget about it, and then come back after a few days, and then read it again, and then maybe make some more corrections. So that is all. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Sul bhai. So আমরা এখন কোশ্চেন আনসার সেশনটায় যাই। চ্যাট বক্স থেকে কোশ্চেনগুলো আমি প্রথমে করছি, তারপর যদি আরো ফার্দার কোশ্চেন থাকে তাহলে হ্যান্ড রেজ করতে পারেন আপনারা, সেক্ষেত্রে আনমিউট করে কোশ্চেনগুলো সরাসরি করবেন। ওকে, From Irfan Ahmed, if my grade is not that good, how should I describe the reasons? ওরা গ্রেড যদি ভালো না হয় সেক্ষেত্রে কিভাবে রিজনটা এক্সপ্লেইন করবেন?
গ্রেড ভালো না হলে কিভাবে এক্সপ্লেইন করবে?
রিজনটা এক্সপ্লেইন করবেন
কিভাবে করবে? You can, like, just before I answer your question directly, you should always try to have something else to mention, right? Rather than saying you can have, now you can work on your TOEFL or IELTS to have a good result in TOEFL score, your GRE, to overcome or show that yes, maybe your grades in the undergraduate was not great, but now you have something. And now you can also try to do some research work, do internships, have a better looking CV with professional experience. So that is what you can do now. Now, to come to your question, if you have to explain a bad grade or overall bad CGPA, you don't have to highlight that, but maybe maybe explain in a way that obviously, if you have an explanation, tell that, but don't make up stories. Because if you have bad grades in all of your courses, that means that you got what you did. But if you have a bad grade, just 1 or 2, then you can obviously explain that during that semester you had some problems. But if you have, I told you that if your overall CGPA is not very high, you still have chance, because you should try to find a university who will take you, who will not want just 4 out of perfect CGPA. No, there are universities, and those are also good universities, but they want student more. They want to see student in a more holistic way. That means that they will look at your recommendation letter, your statement of purpose, and that is where you can write a good statement of purpose as well. Do not feel that if your CGPA is not great, you are not eligible, or you should not try, because some university will look at brilliant students. They will give merit-based scholarships to just the brilliant students, but some universities will also look at your other achievements. So I hope that answers.
Okay, thank you, Sunil bhai. We'll go back to the next question. Sir, my brother went to USA by student visa. He did his master's and currently he is doing his PhD. Can he help me getting admission there through any professor, or how can he help me going there?
Yes, absolutely, because that is a great way. So because that is a way for you to understand that yes, that is a good fit for you, because the fit factor is that your brother is already there. That is a good fit factor. You can have support, social support or family support. You know that university is good because your brother has told you he went there a few years back, and you know that that is a good place to be in. So that is a good fit for you, and you should be absolutely encouraged to consider that university. Not just, as I say, not just one university. You should consider few universities and apply to few universities, and then in the end you should have all the I-20 letters to compare which university is giving you the best offer and where you want to end up going. But absolutely, that is not a problem, but that is a positive factor.
Okay, thank you. Imdad hand raise করেছেন. You can unmute your mic.
Hello everyone. Hello sir. It was a great discussion. I have 3 simple and straight questions. I hope you can discuss with me. So my first question is, Suppose I didn't apply for my master's or PhD immediately after my graduation. The trend seems that everybody is going to apply for master's immediately after. But I graduated a few years back, and I got good job offers, so I got some experience through my work. And now, after a few years, I want to apply for my PhD. So, how do I mention this in my SOP? And second question is, some universities, like you mentioned, uh, they are competitive, and I went to a good university. I am not mentioning the name in Bangladesh, but compared to my university, other universities, the CGPA is different, and it seems they have high CGPA, although it's not a good university. So how do I differentiate myself? And third is, this is the common thing which I usually face, but I'm mentioning to the professors of Bangladesh through you that because I didn't apply immediately for my PhD, and my professors are like, why didn't you go immediately? Why after 6 years do you want to go for a PhD and you have a good job? So when collecting my letter of recommendations, I face these discussions. So through you, I want to portray that it doesn't matter what age you are. The time you feel enlightened, you should be able to get an LOR from your faculties. Not because you have a low CGPA. Everybody should have the chance to do a PhD. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. So to answer your first question is actually you have answered it. So whatever you told me, just write it down. For example, like you told us that like you had a job and now you're applying. So that is like that is the story you want to tell through your statement of purpose, and that is again perfectly fine. Your professor, what your professors told you, again, you know I do not want to comment on that, but again, gap year is fine, and it's perfectly fine if you have gained some experience after your bachelor or master's in Bangladesh in the relevant field, and you are going for a PhD program now, and this is completely fine. And university will value this experience. It might be hard for you to get like a letter of recommendation from your academic professors, but also try to get a letter of recommendation from your current work supervisor, or like someone who you done a project with or research with, things like that. So recommendation letter is a good topic, again, that can be discussed in separately, but just to give you an idea, you should collect 3 recommendation letter, like try to collect 3 recommendations. So one from your current or most recent supervisor. Can like highlight any of your work related, teamwork related, or like completion of a project. How did you accomplish tasks? How did you address challenges or things like that? Obviously, if you have worked with a supervisor in an academic setting or a research setting, if the supervisor or like a research supervisor can also highlight some of your research work, like research interest, potential, or things like that. Going back to your academic life and your academic like your teachers from your university, like try to get a teacher who knows you well, who can write about you. You don't have to go to someone like department professors or like someone who is in a senior level. Like any teacher can give you a recommendation. So your math course teacher or your like any course teacher who you are you like used to work with and know you personally. If you cannot get like just work around and try to find a work supervisor, but you have to convince them in some way. You should all like always try to get recommendation letter from someone who you know or who knows you well. Give them some ideas, give maybe draft something for them, not to sign on that, just to give them some clues what you did. So a teacher after 6 years may not remember all the things you did in your undergraduate or graduate program. So give them some clues. To answer your second question, um, trust me, US universities know about different reputed or less reputed or high reputed Bangladesh universities. They know about it. If they do not know, they will check with the correct people. That can be even educationist advisors like me. Ask about hey, there is this university which you do not know. Can you give us a perspective about that university? And they have other channels as well. So they know who are the best ranking, and a CGPA from that university and that university is not same. 3.58 from a high rank university and a 4 from a really not so competitive university in Bangladesh is not actually similar. So it will be weighted in that way. So Atia, was this 3 questions? Were there any other questions?
No,
I hope that answers.
Yeah, that pretty much answers my question. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we are going back to the next question. Rahul Rudra asked, Sir, if I apply for masters 1 year after my graduation, will there be any problems or what to mention in SOP? সোহেল ভাই আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না। I think.
Sorry, gap year is not a problem. So do not, any of you, do not worry about gap year. Do not think that, okay, I completed my master's or bachelor in 2019 and in 2020, I'm applying for 2021. Will that be a problem? No, it's not. Yeah, you just have to, it's always better to demonstrate that what you have been doing in last 1 year or 2 years. It's perfectly fine that if you say that you were preparing for your GRE or your English proficiency test or application preparation or things like that, completely fine. Or working or doing internship. So what should you write in your statement of purpose? Again, list, look at the questions from the university, what they are asking, and answer those. Your answer will be different from another student's answer. The questions are, look at the questions. If they ask why do you want to come to this university? Your answer will be that I want to come to this university because this program is designed like this. I want to come to that program. I want to be some pursue a career. So your answer will be that. But if another student's answer you consider, that will be that, okay, I want to become a teacher or do some research, and that is their cause. So, excuse me. So after 1 year, if you write your statement of purpose, please write your story. Do not write anyone else's story or try to copy anyone else's. Be honest and remember, your university selection is very important. Do not try to match with the university or university. The university is there. If you have a match with the university's requirement, apply there. Right? If you do not have those questions, answers to those questions properly, if you think that the university is looking for a different type of students, do not apply there. There are more than 1,000 options and all accredited. Some are highly competitive because of let me take this opportunity to tell you, some universities are highly ranked, and ranking is not official, by the way. US News ranking or QS ranking, there are different private rankings. Those rankings come because because of certain programs. For example, they have Nobel laureates or endowment fund, huge endowment fund, or they have some research in particular area, for example, healthcare, or they have worked with few innovations. It doesn't mean that you will need that. You're maybe targeting a separate department or a separate program than what they have achieved their fame from. So look at the university and their program. Ultimately, you need to get a degree. An US degree will take you everywhere in the world. Like, be it doctoral studies in abroad, other countries, or back in Bangladesh, or if you want to pursue a career in somewhere else, have a career like in job or employment, business. You have networks throughout the world. US degree so do not go for just names or like well-known and reputed, because of you will hear about names of which universities are doing research on corona vaccine, right? Like COVID-19 virus vaccine for that. So you will hear some like university's name, and that's how a reputation may develop. Or like university may have a prince, or like someone from Middle East or England studying there, and like from childhood you heard the university's name. Or like some university may be good in law or medicine. That is not relevant for you. Your relevance will be the university of which will meet your student after your studies. So that is what is important. Back to Atia.
Okay, thank you, sir. Bhai. And we want to announce one thing. আমাদের যে এসওপি অনেক কোশ্চেন আসছে বা আমি কিভাবে লিখবো বুঝতে পারছি না, সো আমরা একটা ব্যাপারে অ্যারেঞ্জ করেছি, সেটা হচ্ছে যে আপনাদের এসওপি গুলো নিজের মতো করে লিখে আপনারা 23 তারিখের মধ্যে একটা মেইল দেওয়া হবে, সেখানে আপনারা সাবমিট করবেন। এবং সোহেল ইকবাল ভাই আফটার সার্টেন আমরা একটা সময় নিয়ে সেটা রিভিউ করে আর কি আপনাদেরকে একটা ফিডব্যাক দিব। ভাই এই বিষয়ে কিছু বলেন, তারপরে নেক্সট কোশ্চেনে না হয়ে যায় রিভিউর বিষয়টা, তারা হেল্প পায়।
Okay, as I told you, সবাইকে thank you so much Atia for like trying to help students. So সবাইকে আমি একটা জিনিস বলতে চাই, so Education USA 5 steps model, এটা these are individual student based, right? So each student is different, each university is different. We call it like one-to-one matching. So your SOP cannot be compared with any other student's SOP. So, and then like there cannot be a pool of SOPs, and there cannot be one SOP better than other, because your circumstance, your career goals, your choice of university will be different. It depends on which university or program you are submitting the SOP for, and if that is good SOP for that. So it is like really difficult to review like hundreds of SOPs, because as I told you, you today's, so after today's discussion you will probably clearly understand that your SOP, if you are submitting to 5 different universities, should be a little different. So it's difficult to review SOPs and say that okay, submit this. But I'm always willing to work with each student.
So ভাই নেটওয়ার্ক ইন্টারাপশনের জন্য আমাদের
an activity A, Education USA activity A, B. Sorry, if you complete this process and if you want to work with me personally, I'm ready to help you. That means that if you know where you're applying, which university or programs you are applying, if you have a GRE, if you have English proficiency test, have a plan which session you're applying to, then obviously at some point I can review your SOPs. I can review, I can work with you closely, because I have to work with you. I have to like have a conversation with you. You have to have the SOP in front of you. I have to have a copy of that in front of me, and then we can discuss that. Maybe write this in different way. But I'm not going to correct it and give it edited version which you will submit. Ultimately, this is your SOP. You will have to finalize it yourself. Atiya, does that sound good?
Yeah. So এটা আসলে আপনাদের ইন্টারেস্টের উপরে যে আপনারা ঠিক করতে পারছেন কিনা সবকিছু, যে কোথায় যাবেন, আর আপনার এসওপিটা আসলে কি হবে। তারপরে ভাইয়া হেল্প করতে পারবেন আপনাদেরকে।
আমি আরেকবার বলি সেটা হলো কি আপনার এসওপি, আপনাকে 5টা এসওপি যদি আপনি তৈরি করেন, 5টা এসওপি আমার সাথে দেখতে হবে না। আপনি একটা এসওপি নিয়ে আমার সাথে ওয়ান অন ওয়ান আপনি একটা কনভারসেশন করতে পারেন যে হ্যাঁ ওকে আপনি আমাকে পাঠালেন আপনার এসওপিটা পাঠানোর পরে আমি ধরেন দেখলাম, দেখার পরে আপনার ইউনিভার্সিটি লিস্ট এবং কি প্রোগ্রামে যাচ্ছেন এটা আমাকে একটা ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড দিলে আমি ওই ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল এসওপি নিয়ে আপনার সাথে আলাপ করতে পারি যে ঠিক আছে মেবি এখান থেকে আপনি একটু অ্যাডজাস্ট করে এই জিনিসটা লিখতে পারেন, বা আপনি কেন এটা লিখেছেন, এটা না করে এটা করেন। বাট আলটিমেটলি ইউ হ্যাভ টু ফাইনালাইজ ইউর এসওপি টু সাবমিট টু দ্যাট। আই ক্যানট এডিট ইট এবং এডিট করে আপনাকে একটা ফাইনাল ভার্সন দিতে পারবেন। অ্যাজ আই সেড, আপনি আপনার প্রফেসরকেও না, আপনার স্টুডেন্ট, আপনার কোনো ফ্রেন্ডকেও না, বা কোনো কাউকে না, ইভেন অ্যাডমিশন অফিসারকে দিয়েও আপনি এসওপি চেক করানোর পর দিতে পারবেন না। আপনাকে ইউ হ্যাভ টু ইউজ ইউর গাট ফিল or your personal understanding to write the final version.
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার ভাই। সো চ্যাট বক্সে যাওয়ার আগে আমরা হচ্ছে একটা কোশ্চেন নেই, মাইক আনমিউট করে। তাজরিন ফেরদৌস হ্যান্ড রেজ করেছেন, আপনি কি আছেন? You can unmute your microphone.
Yes, Oppo. Hello,
Okay, you
sir.
can ask your question.
Sir, I have one question. Sir, you have talked about questions of universities. So where can we find those questions about particular university to answer or write in our SOP? That is my question.
Thank you for the question. I think this will help other students as well. If I have not mentioned, sorry about that. So if you go to the admission portal of the university, so for example, you are applying to New York University or University of California. So if you go to the university website and go to the apply section, that's where you will get all the information about what they require, which document they require, which statement of purpose or personal essays, what they require. And there it will be clearly listed questions or prompts, or you can call it hints or topics. So that will be in the university website, in the department when they say apply here, and when you apply there will be other informations before you apply, prepare this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bhai. So we can go back to the next question from chat box. Okay. What is the limit of words of a moderate SOP? So can I give a question? Okay.
So it's 750 words to 1,000 words usually. Again, look at the university website and admission portal. They will clearly write down what they require: 750 words, 800 words, or 1,000 words, or 1,200 words. They can also tell you that page limit. So rather than word, they can tell the page limit in single space or font size. They can also give you a page limit.
Okay, thank you. Rafid Ahmed asked, sir, where can we find about the financial aids list? We usually see the requirements for admission.
It's not clear to me the question. Financial aid list of so university website will have financial aid list from the university. If you want education, if you go to the Education USA website, some of the scholarship and financial aid information in the Education USA websites and put it in the Education USA website for students' ease. You can do scholarship searching from different search engine as well, not Google. There can be some like websites like Peterson's or grad schools where they like if you put parameters like you are looking for scholarships. That's ultimately when you do all those searches from different sites, you should ultimately go to the university website. For example, you have a list of 10 universities. You should go each university website and also then you look for their financial aid opportunities. Financial aid opportunities for the international student. Do not, there can be financial aid for local students or American students. So please be mindful that when you look for financial aid for international students, that is the link you should check.
Thank you, Sylvia. So one person asked, do you like IELTS or TOEFL personally and why? What do you like personally, actually, IELTS or TOEFL?
So, you know, in a lot of times we tell it depends, it depends, it depends. So for English proficiency test, it depends on the university. 100% university will accept TOEFL. Not 100% university will accept IELTS. More than 3,000 universities now accept IELTS as an English proficiency test. TOEFL is historically, for US universities, TOEFL was the test, but now more than 3,000 universities accept IELTS. Some university will list not just TOEFL IELTS, they will list that in English proficiency test, IELTS this, TOEFL this, PTE, Duolingo. So there can be 4 or 5 options. They accept all of those. Some university will accept just 2, TOEFL and IELTS. I don't think there will be any university at this time who will just accept TOEFL. Most of the universities now also accept alternative test. If you ask which one is better, or there is no answer for that, but there is a statistics that if you take TOEFL, in more than 90% case, your first choice university, you will be able to go there. Does it make sense? So if you have a list of 10 universities, your number one choice is, for example, XX university, right? So if you take TOEFL, there is a study that at more than 90% case, you will be able to go to your top choice. That means that TOEFL, when students prepare for TOEFL, they are maybe well prepared or better prepared, but for university it doesn't matter. They will list that minimum score for TOEFL is this, minimum score for IELTS is this. It's your preference, and I think some students do better in TOEFL, some students do better in IELTS. And there are a lot of new tests, like Dual is a test called PTE, which is also a recognized test. Not all universities take. So look at the university website, which test they take. If they take all of those, just choose whichever you like.
Thank you, sir. Can we go back to the next question?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Abid asked, do early submission of application increase our chances, as almost all of our documents are generally will be ready even before start of the admission process? Expect SOP.
Can you repeat the question again?
Okay. Do early submission of application increase our chances? That's the first question. And as almost all of our documents are generally will be ready even before start of the admission process, except SOP.
I don't think you need to put the application way early. But one thing you can always do, write to the university, start communicating with the department. If you are doing research, or if you are like, you're asking for research funding or opportunities, then the department might also put you with a professor. So you can start communicating with the professor in the department. The application, putting an application, because there is a time when they will review the application, but being in touch with the professor or the department may help you in a way that they might know that your demonstrated interest is also always good. Don't just write for the sake of just writing. You can demonstrate that you have questions. If you have questions, start communicating with them. But that application is open at certain times, and it's good to be early than late, obviously. For example, if the deadline is February 15, if you apply and the application opens in December, if you apply in December or early January, that will obviously be better. But rather than applying to the close to the deadline or on the deadline. So I hope this answers your question, but I don't see any point of applying way early without having the SOP or incomplete application. I don't think that's, and remember that each application costs you a fee, certain fee. So you don't want to waste the application fee just by taking a chance. Rather than you should prepare early, check the application opening date and deadline, and put the application in.
Okay, we're going back to the next question. Mohammad Abdul Al Wahid asked, can we mention if I have an internship in his SOP?
Yes, yes. So let me give a quick tip here. So list down all your accomplishments, all your accomplishments. If you ask me, should I start from my primary school, secondary school? I got primary school Vritti, or secondary school Vritti, or I did well in my SSC, HSC. Yeah, that is important. But start from most recent. So if you have got good things to say about your bachelor or master's, that is the most important thing. So if you have done internship, definitely that is relevant. And if that is relevant to your future program, obviously include that in your CV, because you have to write a CV as well. So if you have given all the details in your CV, you don't need to repeat it in your SOP, right? But what you can say in your SOP or personal statement or whatever you write, that how does this has helped you, or a justification, a narration. Don't just say that, because you think so. Definitely remember, it has to be relevant. It has to be, but if you have just the internship to talk about, obviously you should put it in. But if you have an internship and then a job, or other things to talk about, prioritize what is most relevant, for what is the highlight. If you have many things to talk about, prioritize. If you have just one thing to talk about, obviously mention that. And also support by different things, rather than, as I said, I was good in physics, rather than I was participating a physics competition and something like this. I was a very good student, rather than saying that it will be better to say that I was in top 5 in my class. So if you have done internship, I did internship in this, which is relevant, or this will help me to do this, and I grown. There can be many examples. So please mention that. Feel free to mention that, but remember to prioritize what you need to mention. Do not bring in everything from your life. Because 200 words, 2 pages, or 1,000 words, or whatever. So the space is limited. So you have to use that in a very good way. Thank you.
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ সোহেল ভাই। আমাদের সময় প্রায় শেষের পথে, সো আমরা এখানে
থ্যাংক ইউ
আমরা
স্যার।
কোশ্চেন নিতে পারছি না, সরি ফর দ্যাট, এন্ড উই ওয়ান্ট টু গো ব্যাক টু অনামিকা পল, এন্ড থ্যাঙ্কস এভরিওয়ান ফর বিং উইথ আস।
অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ স্যার আমাদেরকে এতটা সময় দেওয়ার জন্য। সবাইকে অনুরোধ করছি ভিডিওটা কাইন্ডলি অন করার জন্য। হচ্ছে আমাদেরকে একটা স্ক্রিনশট নিতে হবে। আমরা সবাই একটু চেষ্টা করি ভিডিওটা অন করার জন্য। হোস্ট হয়ে গেলে একটু কনফার্ম করো। ভিডিও মোডটা কি বাই এনি চান্স লক করা আছে? তাহলে এটা আনলক করো।
ওকে, ডান।
এই পর্যায়ে থ্যাংক ইউ। এই পর্যায়ে আমি অনুরোধ করছি আমাদের অনারেবল চেয়ার হোসেন এমডি সাবিরকে কিছু বলার জন্য।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আমাদের আজকের অনারেবল স্পিকার সোহেল ইকবাল স্যারকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। স্যার আজকে শত ব্যস্ততার মাঝে আমাদেরকে আজকে সময় দিয়েছেন। সাথে আমেরিকান কর্নার রাজশাহীকে ধন্যবাদ। IEEE ইউনিভার্সিটি অফ রাজশাহী স্টুডেন্ট ব্রাঞ্চের সকল অর্গানাইজিং টিম মেম্বারদেরকে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি। তারা খুবই যত্নই আজকের ওয়েবিনারটি সাকসেসফুলি অর্গানাইজ করেছেন। সামনে আমরা আরো বেশ কিছু ওয়েবিনার নিয়ে আসবো ইনশাআল্লাহ, ক্যারিয়ার রিলেটেড, এরপর হায়ার স্টাডি রিলেটেড। তাছাড়া আমি যদিও আতিয়া আপু বলে দিয়েছেন যে আমরা খুব শীঘ্রই হচ্ছে একটা ইভেন্ট লঞ্চ করতে যাচ্ছি, যেটা হচ্ছে SOP কম্পিটিশন। সো আই হোপ যে আপনারা এটাতে অংশগ্রহণ করবেন, যেহেতু আজকের ওই ওয়েবিনারটি ছিল SOP এর উপর। সো এখান থেকে আমরা অনেক কিছু শিক্ষা নিয়েছি। ইনশাআল্লাহ আমরা আমাদের যে কম্পিটিশনটা হবে এটাতে খুব ভালো একটা কাজ দিবে। আর সকল পার্টিসিপেন্টদেরকে ধন্যবাদ জানাই। আসলে আমাদেরকে হঠাৎ করে এখন শেষ করে দিতে হচ্ছে ওয়েবিনারটি। যদি অনেকে কোশ্চেন ছিল, আমি সবার কাছ থেকে ক্ষমা চেয়ে নিচ্ছি। আর শেষমেশ অবশ্যই স্যারকে আবারও ধন্যবাদ। স্যার আসলে অসংখ্য
অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ স্যার আমাদেরকে এতটা সময় দেওয়ার জন্য। অ্যান্ড থ্যাংক ইউ হোসেন এমডি সাবির। আর সেই সাথে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি আমাদের এই ওয়েবিনার অর্গানাইজিং কমিটিকে, আর IEEE ইউনিভার্সিটি অফ রাজশাহী স্টুডেন্ট ব্রাঞ্চকে, সেই সাথে হচ্ছে আমেরিকান কর্নার রাজশাহীকে। আর সর্বোপরি ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি আমাদের আজকের পার্টিসিপেন্টসদেরকে। আশা করছি আবারও দেখা হবে খুব শীঘ্রই নতুন কোনো ওয়েবিনারে। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, সুস্থ থাকবেন, এই কামনায় শেষ করছি।